In this video, we're going to be talking more about how to handle Amazon FBA shoe returns. We had a previous video where we went into a lot more detail about how you could mitigate the risk that comes with selling shoes which have a higher return rate than other categories on Amazon FBA. But in this video, we're going to go into more detail on in particular how to handle getting a reimbursement for shoes that have been returned that it's not in the Amazon policy for them to actually get a refund, but they did anyway. And we're also going to talk about the things that you need to include in your reimbursement request. So before we get into those details, I want to kind of go over and give you some examples of specific situations real quickly where you might be eligible for a reimbursement. I do want to say up front that Amazon's reimbursement policy for these types of returns isn't always super consistent. So at times in the past it's been easier than it is now. Sometimes you may have to ask a couple of times, and sometimes you may just need to decide, this isn't worth my time to keep opening this case or to keep asking. I'm just going to move on. It's part of the business. But it doesn't hurt in these situations to ask once and to see if you can get that reimbursement, because that's the best way possible to get your money back or to even make a little bit of profit off of the shoes that you're selling that have been returned to Amazon. So right off the bat, I want to let you know that you can check out fulltimefba.com/shoe-prep-guidelines. fulltimefba.com/shoe-prep-guidelines. That's a tongue twister, but it's at the bottom of the screen. So that will take you directly to the page on Amazon that talks about how to prep your shoes to send them in to Amazon. And so when you get a return, they should be in a similar condition as to what you have sent them in. And so you should be receiving shoes returned back to you that are in new condition, otherwise it's used and they're not supposed to be giving refunds for used products that are returned. And they should also be in that original manufacturer provided box that you sent them in, and they should have the appropriate UPC attached to them so that it can be verified these are the shoes that you sent in. And if they're not in those, if the shoes that you receive as a return are not received in that condition, then you have a case to open and you can at least try to see if Amazon will give you a reimbursement because they're not following their own guidelines for returns. Now, in some instances, shoes will be returned to you, but they just go right back into your inventory. The Amazon FBA worker is going to inspect them and see that they were returned in new condition and they are still sellable, and so they'll just go straight back into your inventory and you won't ever even see them, and you could sell them again without ever even having to pay any attention to it. But in some instances, that FBA worker is going to mark the shoes as defective or damaged in some way, and you're gonna need to create a removal order and have those shoes pulled back so that you can inspect them. Now at that point, you could find out these shoes were never worn. These shoes, we've received shoes back that the stretch wrap that we put around the shoe box to keep the lid on, that's never even been opened. I don't know why the worker said this was damaged. Great, send them back into Amazon to sell them again. And other times though, there are going to be some problems that you're going to need to deal with. And that's where I wanted to show you a few examples before we get into how to get a reimbursement. So the first one I want to cover is the switcheroo. And what that is somebody orders a new pair of shoes on Amazon, gets that order delivered to them, and then they make a return and ask for a refund. But what they send back in isn't what you sent to them. Now it might be that they got the exact same pair of shoes and they had an old pair that they just wanted to swap out for a new pair. Or they could send you back something that's completely different. And so one example that we have, I got this box back. First of all, it's a generic box. It's not a manufacturer's provided box. And I got this pair of boots out. And I looked at them and I was like, yeah, we've sold these shoes before. This is, even though it's a generic box, I know what pair of shoes this is. I recognize it from our inventory. But then when I started looking a little bit closer, this is not the same brand that I sold. I sold a high-end brand of this particular boot, but I got sent back a generic low-dollar pair of shoes that's almost identical to what I sent in. And so we were able to take pictures, document it, and get a reimbursement from Amazon. And we, in our reimbursement request, use the word switcheroo, and that's something that they're aware of. So that's the first first one I wanted to show you. Another situation is where we would get a pair of shoes that is clearly used. We send in new shoes. That's the only condition you can send shoes to Amazon is new in the manufacturer provided box, brand new, pristine box. We get back this box. It's kind of beat up. That stinks. It happens sometimes. But again, I looked at this and was like, we've never sold this brand of, I don't sell this brand of shoes, but so why are we getting a shoe box back with this brand on it? That's weird. I open it up and I pull out these shoes. This is a Champion box. The shoes I pull out are Caterpillar brand shoes. So it's not really a switcheroo. I actually sold these shoes. They send them back in a random box that they had at home, I guess. And then I start looking at them and there's dirt on the bottom. The leather's kind of scuffed up on the sides. These shoes were clearly worn, and not just to try them on. They were worn, and then for whatever reason the person decided they wanted to return them. Well, that's not an appropriate reason for Amazon to give them a refund, and so we were able to open a return request, a request for reimbursement on this return because this is not the right box and the shoes were clearly used. So then there's one more I wanted to show you. And here we have again a generic box. So we open it up, and again I look and I see, oh yeah, I recognize these shoes. I've sold these shoes. They're still new. They have the tag on them. I look at them. They've not been worn. They're not scuffed up. They're not dirty. But they didn't come back in their original box. And this is what it has on the inside of the box. It says, this item has been repackaged in recyclable, frustration-free packaging because the original box was damaged in transit. And so this is Amazon got these shoes back from the customer, and either the box was damaged like it says, or it didn't have a box, and so they put these shoes in one of their generic boxes and sent it back to us and said it was damaged. The customer got their return. Well, that's fine. The customer can request a return and Amazon can give it to them, but for us as FBA sellers, we're not receiving back a product in the condition that we sent it in, and so we can request a reimbursement from Amazon for that. And so what I want to go into now is how do you go about getting that reimbursement or requesting it. So you're going to want to open a case in Seller Central, and you want to politely request that you be reimbursed for the shoe order. Give them the shoe order, give them all the information that they're going to need to know what pair of shoes and the order that you're actually talking about. And you're going to state your reason why. Whether it was the box is not the one that you sent, that's not the original box, whether the shoes have clearly been used, whether it's a switcheroo and you got back a completely different product, whatever it is, give them the reason, and you need to send them pictures to document it. So lately what Amazon has been asking for in documentation, and if you don't send it to them the first time, they're going to ask you to send it on the next time. So we're just telling you up front, send all that you can the first time, and that will speed up this process. They want a picture of the shoes themselves, the shoe box. They want this little packing slip that comes in the shipment box. They want a picture of the shipment box with the mailing label on it. And the other thing that they've been wanting lately is this code that is taped, or the label for this code that's on the shoebox itself, and that's an LPN code. So they want a close-up of that so that they can read that code. So if you include all of those things with your very polite request for a reimbursement in your ticket that you open up with Amazon, you have a shot at getting the reimbursement. No guarantees, but it's worth it to ask. And if you get reimbursed, great. If not, just move on. It's part of doing business. Either way though, once you have those shoes back in your possession, you need to figure out what to do with them. If they're not in pristine condition in their original box and you didn't if you receive them in pristine condition in the original box and you don't request a reimbursement, you can send them back into Amazon. If you get a reimbursement, don't try to sell them on Amazon. They're not going to like that. But if you get the reimbursement, can't sell them on Amazon, we highly recommend keeping an eBay account in good working order so that you can sell them on eBay, or even better, we recommend selling these shoes on Poshmark. That is where I have found the most success for selling my returns or anything that's damaged from online arbitrage. Any type of shoes that have a problem and I can't sell them on Amazon, I love to sell them on Poshmark because The crowd that shops on Poshmark is more likely to buy shoes that are not in perfect condition. They don't care so much about the shoe box. They're looking for a good deal. And so you're not going to get as much of a profit as you would on Amazon, but you can definitely get some of your capital back. And more importantly, you can just get rid of these shoes and not have to deal with them anymore. All sales are final on Poshmark, so make sure that your listing has all of the details in it about any scuff marks, any wear and tear on it, and that you detail in your pictures any type of condition notes that you need to have, because all sales are final, and if you have that documented, they can't return it because of any type of condition that you have already declared in your listing. So fulltimefba.com/Poshmark will get you more information about how to get set up on Poshmark selling any of your damaged or returned shoe items. We highly recommend that you get an account there. If you're wanting more information about selling shoes on Amazon, we recommend our course. It's an ebook and video course, The Reseller's Guide to Selling Shoes. You can find that at fulltimefba.com/selling-shoes. And in that course, you'll have all the information you need to get started with selling shoes on Amazon and to know how to be successful for the long term by adding shoes to your Amazon inventory. That's all we have for you today. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you want more information about selling on Amazon, all of our tips and tricks, we recommend signing up for our newsletter at fulltimefba.com, where we send out information on a regular basis about what it takes to turn part-time hours into a full-time income with Amazon FBA.